And on to video 3, which is getting started with a new composition. So we're going to create a new project, and I'm going to go ahead and open up After Effects, and we're going to look at where we start from with where we left off with the last video. So we'll wait for this application to load. And we're going to come in and remember this warning dialog box from last time. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and bring it up to the welcome screen. So remember, we can start or go into a recent project if we want to, but we're going to start from scratch and create a new composition. So once we create a new composition, it's going to open up this composition settings. Alright, and right off the bat, I want you to get used to naming instead of keeping it comp 1, because if you keep doing that comp 1, comp 2, you're not going to know what you're doing. So I'm going to call this new, we'll call it test, test composition, if I can spell. There we go. So new composition or new test composition. So I've got it labeled already, which is going to help me stay organized. Remember, that's key. And we're going to go into look at these features. So from here, it's going to have some different default settings with our preset custom setting. If we have a drop down box, which allows us to choose from all these different settings if we know we've got a different video or project we're going to work on. But from here, we're really just because we want to work in high def. I'm going to keep that custom, and it's going to give us the width of 1920 by 1080, and we can lock that aspect ratio, which is 16 by 9. But we can change those if we want. And the same with the square pixels. Again, if you know that you need to change this, I would recommend staying at your default settings, unless you know, again, like I said, you're going to be working in a different field. But they have different settings. You can explore those if you want by doing the drop down box. Frame rate, again, the same, 23.976. We can change that if we wanted to. Full resolution, which just means when I open the application when I'm working in there, it's going to be at the full resolution so I can see it play back in the highest frame rate and visuals. And I can change all these, the start time code, which usually don't have to start, but if I want to change the duration right now, it's 8 seconds. And we're going to look at what this means later on with all these numbers and semicolons or colons in between. But right now it's at 8 seconds and a background color of white, which it can change as well. Now, sometimes people click OK and they go, oh, I wanted to change something. I'll show you later on how you can go back to changing it. So don't get afraid to click OK, because you can always go back and change this. So we've just got in here, we've created a new project with a new composition right here. And before we go anywhere else, it's always great to get in the habit of starting by saving. So I'm going to go up here to File, I'm going to say Save As. Again, Save As, Control-Shift-S if you want to learn a quick shortcut on your keyboards. But I'm just going to go ahead and in our 449, we've got all these different ones, but I'm just going to call this New Composition, or if we want to, so that way we know where we're saving, and it's going to automatically save for you because the preferences will do that for anyone that is notorious for not saving and losing projects. So that's good. Get in the habit of saving right off the bat. So we've saved it, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at our composition. So we've created this composition, which right now has nothing. And remember, a composition is the framework for a movie. So this is what's going to hold all your layers. And each composition has its own timeline. So a typical composition includes multiple layers that represent components such as, like I said before, with these layers, your video or audio footage, animated text and vector graphics, still images, lights and camera moves, all those, and even other compositions. So you can, what's called nesting, put a composition within a composition. Okay, we're going to look at pre-composing later on, which is a very great feature within After Effects, which helps with editing. But some other parts with your new compositions, we looked at the presets, your formats from above, or from before. The tip I always say is get into the habit of naming and organizing. We've talked about that, but I'm going to say it again. Get in the habit of naming, organizing your compositions and layers from the beginning. So there are 6 important steps that I like to remind people with After Effects, and since we're at the beginning, I'm going to remind you guys, and I'm going to mention these, remind them throughout the semester, but is importing and organizing footage, which is going to happen here within your project panel. Creating compositions and arranging your layers. Again, what's going to happen with creating your compositions within your project panel and your timeline panel, adding effects, animating elements, previewing your work, and rendering and outputting the final composition. So those are 6 important steps within After Effects that we're going to look throughout the semester. But we're going to jump into our project panel. So these are where files are, again, stored and organized. So we've created a new composition, but if I wanted to, just by right-clicking on in this box, I can import footage. Okay, so if I wanted to import a file, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to import something, and I've got a Dayton logo that I actually traced within Illustrator, so I'm going to bring that in here, and it's going to come in here and it's going to tell me, okay, we've gotten the Dayton logo new. It's going to tell me it's PNG. It's also going to tell me the type file right here, so PNG. And if I expand this project panel, I'm going to notice that, okay, it's frame rate, it's size, different aspects part of within the file. So usually you don't have to know a lot of that, but just knowing that you can do so, you can also scroll down here if you want. But we've brought it in a logo. And what I'll do a lot of times off the bat is I'll create a new folder, and I can do that right here again by right-clicking, or I can come down here to the bottom, and you're going to see this says create new folder, just like create new composition and interpret footage we're not going to look at. And you also have your delete if you want to, but I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it images. All right, and this is again getting into the process of just staying organized, staying on top of the game. But so we can put all sorts of different files in here. So there's what's going to call layers. So again, keeping organized. But within this project panel, again, we just create a new folder. You can right-click, create the new folder, or by the bottom, creating a new folder here. I can also, if I want to, for importing, let's go ahead and we'll go back to, where's the graphics? I'm going to go to Dayton Logos, Chapel Box. And if I wanted to, I can even drag and drop inside. And as you notice, it brought the file in here. So then I'm just, again, staying organized. Or if I wanted to, I can go up to File. I can go to Import File. And it's going to go in here. And I could even say, hey, let's go to, I don't know, a new one. Well, I don't have many different ones. Oh, yeah, I do, I think. Let's see. Let's just do this Dayton logo. Okay, we'll bring this one in. Okay, so I just brought all these different images, and you notice that they even changed. So this one actually says it's a QuickTime file. This is a JPEG, and from there, so I'm noticing that there's 3 different ways to bring in files into After Effects, okay, for importing. And a good lesson to know is that these files are copy, okay, they're references to the source file. So this link, this is a reference link to that source file from where I found it within my computer, within this folder right here. All right, so it's never going to be the actual file itself. It's just a reference back. So if I were to actually change this and store it somewhere else outside of After Effects and say, hey, I want to put this in this folder, and then I open up this project, it's actually going to say, hey, I don't know where that file is. You've broken the link, the reference link to that source file. So make sure that you stay organized, and also make sure that you're not changing anything, because then you will have to go through and then find those files from which you've changed. But also with the compositions we've looked at, right-clicking, I can create a new composition. I can create a new composition down here. I can also, if I wanted to, if I had the one down here, I could take these layers and move them down into the timeline, or I can come here to composition within my window application and say, hey, new composition, create a new composition, and it's going to create and bring up those settings which we looked at when starting this new video. So just making sure with the organization, the project panel, this is where everything starts within your settings. I recommend keeping everything in default settings until you really understand the application. But again, staying organized is key with your workflow. But so that's a quick overview of projects, the project panel, and how to start a new composition, how to import files, and even saving your work.